Hello, welcome back. So we just went over our lit and life topic of the day, and we're going to continue with the Q cup with going over my personal memoir, true story, based on a true story. Um, and because I want you guys to also write your own personal personal memoir. I'm going to show you mine as an example. We're going to Q cup this as well. So um, keep out your Google document, the Q cup analysis. It should go right below your question lit of the day, lit and light topic of the day. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can read along with me. And very like me, right? And a trauma is a very like weird thing. Um, it's something that lives inside a person's body, animal, anything. It actually uh, becomes a part of you once you have the trauma. So sometimes when I'm reading this, the trauma gets activated. It's a very strange thing. There's nothing I can really do about it other than, I don't know. I, I don't know what I can even do about it. Traumas are hard things to overcome, right? So sometimes even when I read this, I'll start coughing, or where I got attacked, it might start um, jumping. The nerves in the area might start jumping because I'm connecting to that moment in life. So that's a really interesting phenomenon because my body reacts to, and my mind reacts to the event like it actually happening. There's something interesting that I noticed. So we'll go ahead and start. The Attack by Bernorris L Rozier. It was just like any other pleasantly warm spring day. I had just celebrated my 10th birthday and had only about a month left in school of my 5th grade year. It was about 4 in the evening, and all of the neighborhood boys had gathered to decide what sport we wanted to play and against which neighborhood we would play. Who's up for basketball today? Someone asked. And even though it was baseball season, we weren't picky. We played whatever the majority agreed to. There we met in front of my house, all of us on our bikes, standing in the street. We began discussing which neighborhood we wanted to play against that day. The major predicament was not whether we were up for the competition, but if we were ready to face the obstacles en route to the neighborhoods. The neighborhood to the left of my house was about 7 miles away, with a lot of traffic and one chained and vicious Rottweiler. This route usually wasn't particularly difficult because the dog was usually chained, although sometimes he would break his chain and give a mean chase. The traffic was a more common problem because it was fast and dangerous. And when it wasn't moving, it was slowing us down. The neighborhood to the right of my house was only about 4 miles away. Although it was almost only half the distance of the other neighborhood, it had 4 dogs on the way that were not chained or in a fence. The first 2 dogs on the way were big English bulldogs. They were not a big threat because their house was so far from the road that by the time they realized we were passing, it would be too late for them to catch up. The third dog was a Labrador who did not bite. He wasn't really a threat at all. The problem was that he would give a fair warning with all of his barking to the fourth dog, a big mean Doberman pinscher. Since we had played against the farther away neighborhood the day before, we decided to go for the closer one, despite the fact that we had no plans in going in the direction of the huge Rottweiler. Out of nowhere, he came to us. As soon as we noticed him, everyone began to pedal away. I was the last one. I was still in front of my house when the huge dog bit into the bottom of my pants. With a strong hold, he began to sling his head from side to side, clearly trying to throw me off the bike. In an instant, he lost his grip, and I jumped on the other side of the bike. We circled around the bike a couple of times. The dog. Suddenly, I picked up the bike and threw it on top of him, hoping it would deter his attack. After making that move in haste, I really ran out of ideas. He was diverted only momentarily, regained his composure, and ensued with his attack. I knew at that moment that getting rid of my barrier was a bad idea. I couldn't turn my back and run because it would be easy for him to knock me to the ground that way, since he weighed as much as me, if not more. I knew I had no choice but to face him, stay on my feet, and defend myself the best way I could. He immediately leaped at me. In my flinch, I turned my right shoulder up and turned my face away. His teeth sank directly to the top of my chest, just below my collarbone and above my armpit. I fell back into the street. Things seemed to move in slow motion. I began to realize the dog wasn't just attacking me. He went for my throat. He was trying to kill me. While on top of me, he stared into my face, drooling and growling. Then the monster barked loudly, directly into my face. I could smell his breath. I became totally furious because the dog was not only attacking me physically, he was also trying to intimidate me. At that moment, I turned from being the victim of a vicious dog attack to the participant in a street fight. I rolled over on my stomach in order to stand up. I began elbowing, punching, and kicking in every direction. The dog retreated for a moment, and then he began circling and coughing. I assumed I kicked the breath out of him. We were both standing in the middle of the street with our eyes on one another, but I felt as though I was in a different world. All of a sudden, I heard my sister screaming, "Bernorris, run!" She was running in my direction with a broom in her hand, screaming at the dog. He slowly backed away to the other side of the street, still coughing. I think about this incident often. It has been a point of reflection whenever I have had to deal with unpleasant situations throughout my life. It has taught me that life is full of unexpected situations. I also learned through this experience, no matter how impossible the obstacle may seem, you should always try to overcome it. So I want you guys to go back to your cue cup and analyze my personal memoir from beginning to end, paragraph by paragraph. Today, we'll do paragraphs 1 through 4. You break them down from the top. 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. Go through your cue cup analysis and answer the questions. It should be just below your life and lit topic of the day, making connections. Have you ever had to overcome an obstacle, and did you learn a lesson from it? I wrote my lesson that I learned at the bottom of my paper. I learned that you should always try to overcome your obstacle, no matter how difficult it may seem to overcome. In your move, I want to know about your personal obstacle that you faced. Then you go to the question part. For each, what questions did you have before, during, and after you read? Should be a question at least for 3 of those paragraphs. Then you circle or write down unknown words and define them. I know for certain there were a few words in there that you do not know, because I wrote this in anticipation of you not knowing some of the words. I added some in there. If you happen to know them all, good for you. But if I test you on it, I'm going to find out. The you. Underline or write the main message, theme, or topic of the paragraphs. At least give me 3. And paraphrase. Paraphrase each paragraph in 2 to 3 sentences. Put it in your own words. Explain it. And then summarize. Using the race method to answer, write an objective means factual, summary of what you learned about today and that you didn't know about before the class. What new vocabulary, concepts, or ideas did you discover? Remember to use the RACE method right here. Restate the question, answer the question, cite evidence, and explain your answer using personal experiences or prior knowledge. And that has been your ELA lesson of today.